It's one of modern aviation's greatest mysteries. And now, after 12 long years, the search for MH370 is back on. A private company is betting millions of its own dollars that brand new science and some seriously cutting-edge technology can finally find that vanished Boeing 777 and the 239 people who were on board.
So that's the big question, right? How on earth do you find a plane that just vanished more than a decade ago? The first search was massive, the ocean was brutal, so what's really changed? How can anyone be so confident that this time is going to be any different?
Well, the answer is surprisingly simple and a little bit mind-blowing. You wait for the science to catch up. And in the 12 years since that plane disappeared, that is exactly what has happened. New ways of analyzing data and incredible new tech have basically redrawn the map, giving searchers a powerful new confidence that they are finally looking in the right place.
So let's get into it. Who's behind this new push? Because this isn't some massive government-funded effort like we saw before. Oh no, this is a targeted, high-tech, and incredibly high-stakes private operation.
The company's name is Ocean Infinity, and they are, believe me, leaders in deep-sea exploration. As of January 2026, their ship is out there right now in the southern Indian Ocean, and they're not just looking around. They are deploying a whole fleet of autonomous drones to a very specific, newly identified patch of the seafloor.
And this is the real kicker, the part of their deal with the Malaysian government. No find, no fee. Think about that. If they come up empty, they get paid absolutely nothing. Zero. But if they find the wreckage, or those crucial black boxes, they could earn up to $70 million. It is a massive gamble that tells you everything you need to know about how much they believe in their new data.
But, to really grasp why this new search is such a big deal, we have to go back. We have to remember the core mystery of that night in 2014, how a state-of-the-art airliner could just disappear.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It is chilling in how simple it is. The flight takes off, totally normal. And then, right as it's passing from Malaysian to Vietnamese airspace, everything changes. The transponder, which tells air traffic control where the plane is deliberately switched off. And poof, it's gone from civilian radar.
Good night, Malaysian 370. Those were the last words anyone heard from the cockpit. Just seconds later, the plane went electronically dark and made a sharp, deliberate turn, flying back across the Malay Peninsula, and then for hours and hours into the unknown.
But here's the thing. The plane wasn't a total ghost. An onboard data unit kept sending these automated pings, like little electronic heartbeats, to a satellite. These handshakes created a kind of ghost trail. It didn't give a location, but it allowed investigators to calculate that the plane flew south for hours until it ran out of fuel somewhere along this huge curve of ocean called the Seventh Arc.
So that Seventh Arc became the focus of the biggest, most expensive search in aviation history. We're talking over $150 million. So why? With all that time, all that money and effort, did they find absolutely nothing?
Well, first off, the search area is just one of the most hostile places on our planet. It's called the Roaring Forties for a reason. You've got waves the size of 4-story buildings. The seabed is deeper than the Grand Canyon, and it's not flat. It's covered in underwater volcanoes, deep trenches, and jagged ridges. The old Toad sonar tech just couldn't handle it, leaving these huge blind spots, or shadows, where a whole plane could easily hide.
And the other huge problem? It was a core assumption they made. All the models basically figured the plane flew in a straight, predictable line, on autopilot, until it ran out of gas. But what if it didn't? What if someone made just a tiny manual turn right at the end? In that crazy underwater terrain, a shift of just a few miles could be the difference between finding the plane and missing it completely.
Okay, so what's changed? What's making this new search even possible? Well, it all comes down to two, honestly, game-changing new categories of evidence that have let investigators basically rewrite the flight path and shrink the search area a lot. First up, the actual pieces of wreckage that washed ashore. The fact that they've found so few pieces, less than 30, suggests the plane was probably in one piece when it hit the water. And get this, the barnacles on a key part of the wing, the flaperon, they acted like a little diary, confirming that the piece drifted up from the cold southern ocean. And the damage to that part points to a high-speed, uncontrolled dive, not some kind of gentle landing. All right, now for the second clue. This one is really fascinating.
and it's a technology called Whisper. So here's the gist. Think of it like a giant, invisible spiderweb of low-power radio signals that amateur radio enthusiasts have wrapped around the entire globe. The theory is, when something huge in metal, like a Boeing 770, flies through this web, it creates a tiny detectable disturbance. It's like hitting a tripwire.
Now, I gotta be clear, this is a hot debate. On one side, you have supporters who say, look, we analyzed the WSPR data from that exact night in 2014, and we found a clear path of these little disturbances pointing to a new area way south of the original search zone. But the critics, and they have a fair point, say, hold on, this system was never built to track planes. Weather or a dozen other things could cause these blips. Still, when you get hundreds of these disturbances that line up perfectly along a potential flight path, it gets very hard to just write it off as a coincidence.
So armed with this new, much sharper target, Ocean Infinity's bringing in tech that honestly makes the old search efforts look ancient.
Forget about just dragging a single sonar scanner on a long cable. No, they are deploying a fleet of autonomous underwater drones. These HUVs work together like a coordinated swarm of robots, diving deep and flying close to that complex seabed. Their high-resolution sonar can finally peer into all those shadows that might have hidden the truth before. And get this, they've got AI on board that can actually help tell the difference between a weird-looking rock and a piece of an airplane.
But look, this whole massive effort, it's about so much more than just cool tech and sonar pings. Finding MH370 is about finding answers, it's about accountability, and it's about making sure a tragedy like this can never, ever happen again. At the absolute heart of all of this is this number, 239 people. That's 227 passengers and 12 crew members. Every single one, a life, a family, left in this horrible state of not knowing. Finding that wreckage, and especially those two black boxes, would be definitive. The flight data recorder can tell us exactly what the plane was doing, every single control input, the status of every system. And the cockpit voice recorder, that could give us the final, crucial 2 hours of sound from inside that cockpit. It could tell us who was in control and maybe why.
For the families of everyone on board, this has just been an open wound for over a decade now. Without a crash site, without answers, there's no finality. There's no place to truly grieve. Finding the plane wouldn't bring their loved ones back, but it would finally, after all this time, end the agony of not knowing. And so here we are. After 12 years of theories, false leads, and so much heartbreak, a new wave of science is being pointed at one of the most remote places on Earth. We are about to find out if technology, data, and a new way of thinking can finally close the book on one of the most painful and enduring mysteries of our time.